Okay, so the Sewn Goods workshop sounds amazing, and I personally I kind of want to go to it. Just to be honest, just to see you in action and learn everything about it. Even though I went to school for this stuff, I still want to see because I feel like I could learn from it. But I'm in Pennsylvania, so if there's other people like me who don't live in your immediate area and they really want and they need this program, what can they do? Are they allowed to attend? Is there a virtual version?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, as far as people that live outside of the Carolinas, we have had people from New York, Florida, California. I had somebody come from Alaska, right?
Whoa.
So, for the in person workshop, the in person workshop is a 2 day workshop and it's from 9 to 4:30 both days. There's an entrepreneurial event after on day one that afternoon that our Chamber of Commerce puts on. And so we do have the virtual modules for those people.
Okay.
Maybe they have kids, they can't travel, whatever
Right.
the case may be. I will say the difference in those two, the virtual modules were actually videoed back during the pandemic.
Okay.
So the education piece is the same, except over the last 2 years that since we filmed those, I update stuff all the time.
Right.
So inflation has happened everywhere. So in the video, it talks about typical cut and sew labor costs and it gives a range. Well, that range has now gone up. So when it comes to the videos, there's some things on there in the last couple years that may have changed. And
Okay.
it's hard to change videos, right? You don't want to hire a film
Yeah.
crew to come back in and film every 6 months or a year. And the other big difference in person and video, the videos that are online, is that hands on. When you come to the in person workshop, not only do you get to look through all those samples I talked about earlier,
Right.
you do a tour of MSC. Day one is here at MSC and you tour. So you actually get to see those knitting machines that I've talked about. You get to see those things in action. And
Wow.
then on day two, the class is actually held at the Industrial Commons, which
Okay.
is a parent organization pretty much to the Carolina Textile District. Those
Okay.
folks do some amazing work. And you tour a worker owned cut and sew facility, Opportunity Threads, who was one of the other founding partners of CTD. So there's hands-on that you get being here in person that you're really going to miss out on with if you just do it online and the networking alone.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was literally took the words out of my mouth. The next thing I was gonna say is while you're there, I'm sure it's really valuable to network with the other entrepreneurs, almost create like a support structure
Yeah,
of fellows that you can go on your journey with and that can kind of help you again traverse this terrain, which can be very rocky and very confusing and stressful. And it's not easy to take an idea and bring it to life. It really isn't. It's a complex structure just in what you do with it, not even to talk about the next level of it, which is the marketing level of it and getting it out on the market and getting it to the right people at the right price point and building that value proposition and doing those sorts of things. There's just so many layers. So if you can go in person to this workshop and get your card, get some other people's cards, the cut and sew cards, get all those, with you, take them home with you. Now you have these resources forever and ever and ever that you can kind of shoot ideas back and forth with, not feel stupid for asking the questions and kind of grow together. That makes sense.
yes.
That makes a
It,
lot of sense.
yeah, building that networking piece is when they leave the workshop, we invite everybody who attends the Sewn Goods workshop to a private Facebook group that
Oh,
are Sewn
cool.
Goods graduates. And what we encourage them to do is go on there and let us know if you've launched. So people can go to your website and look at what you've done. Let us know if there's a trade show coming up and you think that it would be beneficial. Let us know if you found a really cool new domestic material source for something. Like I encourage people to go on there and use that private page as that networking piece too to help each other. So absolutely, but being here in person and meeting other people, bouncing ideas off. Some people may be further along than others, and a lot of times I can have somebody brand new with an idea, and I've had people who have boutiques and they've been selling for years, but maybe they were making it themselves or they were buying blanks and now they want to go custom. And so these folks can help each other out in ways that maybe somebody got a patent and somebody else is looking to get a patent and they need to know what are the steps? Is it worth it? Is it a waste of time and money? So, yeah, the networking piece is huge being here in person as well, for sure.
That's so cool. And then the other piece is that amazing library of fabrics that you said. It was 3,900. Is that the right number?
3,900 plus. And again, that's hardware and elastic and fabric, whether it's knit, woven, non-woven, like just different things.
Okay. So, and they can actually like look through them
Yeah.
and touch and feel the stuff. Okay. So this is where we're going to bridge into my neck of the woods, which is the fabric neck of the woods, and talk
Yeah.
about wazoodle fabrics. So I heard rumor that we have our fabrics as a part of your library. Is that correct?
Yes. And I will tell you, Wazoodle has been phenomenal in not only providing a variety of fabrics, like I have a big basket that just has pretty much, I think it's got to be every fabric you guys had done. Because when I first connected with Sid back in 2016, when we started the Sewn Goods workshop, and that was part of it, I was like, we need physical
Oh,
material
yeah.
sources that people can come in and they can feel. So many people were like, I have no clue what I want to use. And Sid was just like so helpful and just so kind. He was like, sure, I'll send you samples. And that's hard when you're asking for a variety of
I
pretty
know.
much everything they carry.
I know.
Most companies act like you're asking for body parts and they're like, I'm not sending you my arm. And I'm like, I don't want your arm. I
I
just want
want your
a
fabric.
sample. Yes. Just send me a sample of all your fabrics. But it is hard. I understand, right? For clients, it's easier because they're only asking for like one or two types of samples.
Right.
I'm asking for a ton. So
Done.
it was great. Sid was so accommodating. He's like, yes, I'm going to send this to you. And then as I started talking to him, and I realized that Sid and Wazoodle and AKAS Textiles had it figured out. So I'm teaching
What do
this
you mean by
class.
have it figured out? What do you mean?
So I'm teaching a class to entrepreneurs and startups, and they don't want to go to a mill and have to purchase 1,000 yards per color,
Oh, God.
right? But they also don't want to go to a wholesaler where they find a fabric they love, but then when they need to order larger quantity, then they're starting over to find that source, that
Right.
fabric through a mill source.
Right.
Wazoodle and AKAS Textiles, it's like if you want cut yardage, you go to wazoodle.com.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, if you wanted wholesale rolls, like 50-yard bolts, you go to wholesale.wazoodle. And then when you get to where maybe you've been purchasing from Wazoodle and you love the fabric, but you want it a little heavier, when you get to the point that you can do 1,000 yards per color, Sid's like at that point, you can send them on over to AKAS Textiles and we will do custom. The great thing is it's all here in the US.
Yep.
That is the part that you can grow with Wazoodle and AKAS. You're not looking once you grow out of that cut yardage and the wholesale, once you decide you want to do custom, you're not starting over looking for a mill to do that. You grow with you guys. That's the amazing thing that I tell everybody in my class. So when I show them your samples, I'm like, okay, so maybe that's a little lighter than what you want, but you can start with this.
Right.
And when you get to where you can do 1,000 yards per color, you give Sid a call and you're like, I've been using this for a year and it's a 5 ounce per square yard weight. And now I'm wanting something that's 4 ounce. So
Right.
yeah, that's the amazing thing about Wazoodle and AKS, other than the fact that you guys are domestic for sure.
Yes, everything we do is sourced within the United States. All the manufacturing we do is within the United States. And what we do with our clients is exactly what you're describing. Is we do a fabric journey. So we take you from a swatch, which is a $2 cost, a 4x4 swatch, and you get that in house, and you can feel and you can see and you can be like, oh, this isn't quite right. This is perfect. You can make up your mind, and then you're not stuck with yardage. You're not spending extra money. You're not doing all that stuff. When you see what you want through the swatch, then you graduate up to yards. And then as your business grows, you go from the yards to the rolls. And then as you get even bigger, you go to what we call pallets, which is like a ton of rolls on a thing. And then you can start designing your own fabrics with our engineer Sid. We also have custom color and custom print programs now. So if you want a color that is your brand color and you have that Pantone number, that hex code, or even just a swatch of something, we can, work backwards from that swatch and get you that exact color, and put it into the fabric for you. If you have a print, we can send you to our print house and we can get that done. So it's just there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for opportunity to get exactly what you need for your clients, for your end product from Wazoodle, which for me, I went to school for textile design. I worked as a designer in women's wear for many years, for an American company, and I did a lot of stuff. And I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it before, which is why I wanted so badly to be a part of the team. And just the love for the clients, the love for the fibers, the love for the country. It's all very, very cool. And then on top of that, I mean, not to keep tooting our horn, sorry, but on top of that, it's sustainable, it's eco-friendly. So you're getting these technical textiles that can do all these cool things for you, and you're not getting the really awful, harmful chemicals that typically go into making technical textiles with the same functionality. You're getting the function without the harmful additives and solvents and things of that nature, which to me as a textile major and designer and person of the it blew my mind. I was like, this can't be real. This sounds too good to be true. And it's real. It's real. And the other thing is too that I found out recently, as you grow, let's say you need 500 yards, right? But
Mhm.
you're in the middle, like you're getting to the bigger tier of things, but you're not quite there yet, and you just don't have that extra money for a storage unit, and you most certainly don't have room in your home for 500 yards, right?
Yeah.
If you have a partner, they will not be happy with you if you kind of stick that in the basement somewhere. So we also offer, storage for, if we can store the fabric for you at our facility, which is temperature controlled, which is very, very clean. We can hold it for you there. So we can help you in that regard too, as you grow. So that's one of the cool things as well. And I want to just kind of go from that and bridge in, because we have the same or similar clients. What you bring to the table, we bring to the table. How would you say our missions kind of align? Like if there was a Venn diagram of two circles and they cross in the middle, what's that middle part where we're kind of synchronous together?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, one of the things is we're all about domestic made, all about made in the US. So that's, of course, one of the big ones that aligns with Wazoodle. It's
Right.
all about having it made here in the US. The other piece of it too is the sustainable, the eco-friendly, um, that piece of it. We are trying to rebuild some of these communities. So it's not just sustainable, eco-friendly, but the ethical piece, right?
Okay.
Trying to rebuild some of these communities that were hit hard back when everything went overseas. And our partners like CTD and the Industrial Commons, those folks also align with that. It's all about building on our local heritage and skills and helping the manufacturers I would say revitalize
Okay.
the industry in a different way. So it's not going to be the same. But again, it touches on that eco-friendly piece of it, the sustainable piece of it, but also the ethical piece of it, right?
Right. People working for living wages in a safe and
Yes.
happy environment, where they can feel good about what they do for a living and feel freedom and things of that nature. So we talked earlier, we mentioned about the role that the Carolinas played in the textile industry back in the day. So like, I don't know if the viewers watching this are aware, but it was in the 80s we started leaving We started leaving en masse because what was the thing? I can't remember the Gordon Gecko, I think is his name. Greed is good.
Oh,
Was the theme of the 80s. Greed is good. I think it was Gecko, something Gecko, who said that. And it was like, okay, so how can we make the most amount of money and spend the least amount of money to get there? What can we do to
what
increase
can
our
we
profit
exploit?
margin?
Yes.
Exactly. And
What
so
can we
that's when we
exploit?
started losing the American centered textile industry and started outsourcing to these other countries that don't have the same regulations, that don't require the same pay rates for their people, who don't have the EPA, coming down on them. They're allowed to use certain chemicals that are outlawed in this country. They're allowed to do different processes that are too dirty to be allowed in the United States. There's just different things. So we started losing that industry in the 80s, and it really left in the 90s. So now we're in the 2000s, and you guys are working so hard to help bring back this empowerment to America to be self-sustaining and to be able to manufacture within our parameters, within our lower 48 or whatever you want us to call it.
Yeah.
So what do you see happening there? How are you guys helping this situation?
Yeah, so when we talk about MSC, the new facility that we just did grand opening the end of March, right? And in those areas, we have like the domestic resource lab here. This is all about helping the brands who want to reshore, as well as the entrepreneurs and the manufacturers who are looking specifically for domestic sources.
Okay.
So I have the CTD sourcing library, and that's what I use for the Sewn Goods workshop because there's some wholesalers and stuff in there as well. That small quantity. And that's what a lot of my Sewn Goods people have to start with, right? Is that
Of
small
course.
quantity and then
Of
grow.
course.
And this PPE textile resource lab we have in this new MSC facility, it is all about domestic. So a lot of it's going to be meals. It's going to be the higher minimums, but that's going to be great and will work fine for those brands who have been producing overseas and now they want to reshore, or manufacturers who have clients that they've been working with who have the potential that they can order the larger quantities. We have the best practices cut and sew line downstairs, and that is where companies can come in and see some of the automated, semi-automated equipment, because we do have a problem right now with finding skilled labor, right? That's something that, when everything went overseas, people
Yeah.
that could retire early retired. The
It didn't
people
get
that
passed down to the next generation.
Exactly. The people that didn't went back to school, got a new trade. So we have there's a huge gap there where people did not learn the skills of a lot of trades.
Okay.
And that's what we have to now look at some of the automated, semi-automated equipment because it takes a lot less time to train somebody to push a button than to actually sew a straight line, right?
Okay. Okay.
At the same time, we cannot lose that craft and that skill of sewing. So the thing that I love that I do is I can represent both the Manufacturing Solutions Center
Hmm.
and the Carolina Textile District because I teach their sewn goods.
Right.
And the Carolina Textile District is teaching industrial sewing classes. They are teaching people how to sew on those older machines, the actual craft, the skill. They're teaching people how to do that. And we need both, right? You have some of the smaller companies who are going to want those people that know how to sew. And then you've got those large companies that, in order for them to continue to be able to produce, they don't have enough manpower. They're going to have to go to semi automated, automated just to keep up with those orders. And so
Right.
they need less people, more of the automation. There has to be a way that, again, we don't lose that heritage, that craft, that
Right.
skill. So we definitely need to continue to teach that, which CTD does a phenomenal job. And then also, how can we still continue to help this industry grow? And that's where MSC is like, okay, what's this automated piece? So
That's
there's a
amazing.
couple of things that, again, that we do here at MSC as well as our partners are doing.
That's incredible because industrial sewing, when I was doing women's wear, I thought I knew everything because I've been sewing forever and yada yada yada. There's a huge difference between your Singer sewing machine that you use at home and your baby overlock machine versus a Juki, versus like a big old industrial. It's going to run a heck of a lot faster than you're used to. It's going to do all these kind of things to expedite the process and kind of streamline it for you. It's amazing that you're going to thread it differently. There's so many things that you need to know, and you don't know what you don't know, obviously, and that's okay. To be ignorant is okay. To stay ignorant is not okay. So that's where I love that you guys are empowering makers to be able to do the industrial level sewing, whether they want to go into one of these manufacturing places as a hired person, or if they want to, invest in their own machines in their own home structure and work that way to expedite their processing and get the most bang for their buck. Because you're going to blow out a Singer sewing machine pretty doggone quick. If you're pushing that sucker to the brink all day, every day,
8 hours for sure.
Yeah,
And I
I've been
think
there.
it definitely helps for people just to understand how their product is made. So
Yes.
even if they take the sewing class not with the intent of working in a cut and sew or producing their own product consistently or continuously, but just to be able to understand how their product is made.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
A lot of the manufacturers love people who have made their prototypes or samples
Okay.
because they then understand that if it's small doesn't mean it's going to be cheap. Sometimes your smaller things are more complex.
Right.
And what some people might think is a quick, easy change is not always a quick, simple thing.
Right.
So yeah, manufacturers tell me all the time, we love working with people who know their product well. Like they know how it's sewn, they know how it's put together. So when we talk about possible changes, they completely understand this isn't something that's just going to be a simple change, that there's steps involved. So yeah. And then they also have a crafted production where they teach people that want to start their own cut and sew how to do that, how to set up machines and work with clients. So yeah, a ton of different education pieces at MSC. We have Stoll M1 training here where we can teach people how to program those Stoll flatbed knitting machines. We do that here. We have a hosiery 101 class we teach at MSC. So yeah, between the Manufacturing Solutions Center, the Carolina Textile District, and then we have another partner, the Textile Technology Center at Gaston. They have actual textile college classes. So there's a lot going on here in the Carolinas to help rebuild the textile industry and revitalize it and help rebuild it in a different way, a better way.
Oh, I love this. This is so exciting. And I'm so happy that we get to work together with Wazoo Fabrics and with you guys. It's just such
Yeah.
the perfect pairing. And because we're all about knowledge, we're all about empowerment through knowledge. And I love that you guys are too, because that's exactly what the clients need. It might feel
Yes.
overwhelming at first, but it's exactly what they need in the end to truly succeed. So we're coming up on where we're going to wrap up a little bit here. But I wanted to give you the opportunity before we call it a day. Is there anything that you wanted to mention that maybe we didn't hit on in our interview, that off the top of your head that you can think of?
Yeah, I think I barely touched on some of the partners that we have, but definitely checking out the Carolina Textile District, the Industrial Commons, and the Textile Technology Center at Gaston. Those are some partners of ours that do some pretty amazing stuff as well, especially some are more focused on the education piece, where some are more on the manufacturing or actually in the industry. And then as far as the other thing is just how to reach out to MSC or CTD. If you go to the Manufacturing Solutions Center's website, we have everybody start with an application.
Okay.
And the reason we do that is because there's information needed on the product or the project. We get that detailed information, and that just saves everybody a ton of time, right?
Right.
Plus, there's different teams, if you will, different people who handle different types of products. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
we don't want everybody calling me because I'm not going to handle the knitted products. And
Okay.
the person who does the Lanati knitting machine and that product development and production is not the same person who does the Santoni knitting machines.
Okay.
So I think the big thing is just anybody interested in having any type of product produced. Like I mentioned, we have a non-textile
Right.
engineers as well. All of the applications, even the one for the Carolina Textile District, all of those can be found on the Manufacturing Solutions Center's website at manufacturingsolutioncenter.org.
Awesome. And you know what? I'm going to take it one step further and make it even easier for our viewers. And in the description below, I'm going to put all the links to these different places that Tanya's mentioned. So all you have to do is just read the description, click on the link that you're most interested in, and explore. And their website is very easy to explore. It's very self-explanatory. You can find exactly what you need very simply. If there's something that they can't find on the website, or they have a really big question that they just got to get off their chest right away, is it okay for them to send you is there like an information at or an email address or something like that, or not really?
Yeah. No, if they have questions, they can email me at twade at manufacturingsolutioncenter.org, and you can add my email down there as well.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Like I said, if it's a question that it's not something that I handle, I can at least refer them to somebody who can answer that question or somebody who does help them in that department. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Tanya. It was awesome talking to you. I had so much fun.
Well,
I
thank
could
you,
just talk to
Chris.
you for hours and hours. I had so much
Yeah.
information to find out, but thank you so, so much. I think we might do some other things in the future. So everybody stay tuned for that. We might have some cool stuff coming up in the near future with me and Tanya. But for right now, that's going to call it a day for today. But I just wanted to thank you again for your time, Tanya. I know it's very, very valuable and I appreciate it very, very
Oh,
much.
well, you guys are quite welcome. And again, I love the whole Wazoodle team. Sid, Ash, you like all of you guys are so passionate about what you do. And that's what strikes home with me. I'm passionate about it as well. So I love working with people like you guys. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share our information with people. So thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.